This is another episode of Standup Comedy, your host and MC, celebrating 40-plus years on the fringe of show business. Stories, interviews, and comedy sets from the famous and not so famous. Here's your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode. We have a fun show for you. Later on in the show, I'm going to have a short set from Jay Leno, who used to play in my club all the time, and I did several concerts with. Also, a great comedian out of the San Francisco Bay Area, Destiny, will be doing a short set. And right now, I have a couple short stories to share with you. So here we go. So my first story has to do with Dennis Miller. He's now famous for his time on Saturday Night Live and also as a co-host on NFL football for a year. That didn't go well. But at the time, he was just a cocky political comic. Now, I should be clear that all political comics I've met over the years are arrogant and smart, and they don't let you forget it. They kind of like boasting. But that's okay. It's part of their persona. Dennis, in his way, was very funny and made an effort, unlike other political types, to keep his political material relatable and fairly current. He worked for me several times right before making it big on Saturday Night Live, and of course after that he stopped working for me altogether. He was a star now. The funny story is that my girlfriend and I were up at Harrah's Tahoe, and we were up late, 1:30, 2 in the morning, playing craps. I actually had the dice and had the roll. And I hear from across the room, "Scott!" And I stop and I kind of look around. "Scott Edwards!" And I look, and from across the casino, yelling at the top of his voice, was Dennis Miller striding towards me. On each arm, these tall, beautiful, sexy women. I'm talking models, escorts, I don't know what they were. They were not the kind of girlfriends you would take home to mom. But they were beautiful women, and he had one on each arm, and he was strutting across Harrah's Casino, heading my way, yelling my name the whole way. So as I said, I had the dice, and I was in charge of the roll. And the rules are you're not supposed to leave in the middle of a roll, but this was Dennis Miller, and I thought I was being called for. So I exited from the craps table, which totally upset everybody there. And Jill and I, my girlfriend at the time, walked up to Dennis Miller and these two beautiful women, and I said, "Hey, Dennis, how's it going?" And he kind of looked around and he goes, "Well, I'm not playing Sacramento," turned and walked away. I was dumbfounded, and I realized he was yelling across the casino so that everybody would turn and look at him with these two beautiful women, one on each arm. I just stood there with Jill going, "What was that about?" and thought that was an odd moment. So thank you, Dennis Miller, for that. Okay, so let's get on with a little stand-up comedy. Our first act in this show is a talented young lady out of the San Francisco Bay Area. She was a regular opening act and did feature a couple times at my club, Laughs Unlimited. I think you'll enjoy her. She's very funny. Here's a set by Destiny.
Okay, Les, you ready? I'm ready, man. How you like my microphone? That's great. Are you ready to introduce this next young lady? Oh, yeah, she's from San Francisco, man. Yeah, very talented lady. Let's say they get together and welcome her. Destiny! Destiny!
Hi, how are you guys doing? Great. My name is Destiny, and yes, my parents are hippies. I had a different childhood. Most parents took their children to amusement parks. My parents took me to so many sit-ins, I didn't learn how to walk until I was 10. I had a Kool-Aid stand like most of the kids right in front of the house, like everyone. My parents kept on spiking it with LSD. I made $12,000 that summer. My mother used to make a big deal out of everything. Remember when I got my period for the first time, she threw me a surprise party. Very embarrassing. Should have seen the invitations. I didn't know Hallmark made those cards. Kept missing that section. 100 people showed up. It was fun. Kathy Rigby was there, Brenda Vaccaro. Amazing. I'm living with my boyfriend now. He's great. It's nice. It's a nice relationship. He has some odd habits, though, you know. He likes to walk around the house naked. That's really odd. Any of the men out there like to walk around the house naked? Well, it's not just our house, it's any house. Very embarrassing on Thanksgiving. Don't drop the gravy. That's great, though. Got my very own Macy's credit card. Very excited about that. That was really exciting. It's mine. It has my name on it, but my boyfriend pays for the bills. So I can use it, I just can't come home. The way he gave it to me was great, too. He said, "Here, honey, here's your very own Macy's credit card, but don't use it. Only in case of an emergency." What kind of an emergency is going to come up with a Macy's credit card? What am I going to do, go to work and forget my clothes? Oh, God, I'm naked. Thank God I had that Macy's credit card taped to my ankle. I don't understand this. My hair is finally growing out, so it is. I do so much to it, you know, I'm constantly cutting it, perming it, dyeing it, cutting it, perming it, dyeing it. Most girls tease their hair, I'm tormenting mine. Had this nightmare last night that I woke up completely bald with a note right by my head saying, "Destiny, we just couldn't take it anymore." Signed, your hair. Wear a lot of hairspray, too. Ladies, do you wear a lot of hairspray? I wear so much hairspray, you go into my bathroom, there are flies stuck in midair. You people have been great. My name is Destiny. Good night.
That was Destiny in a very funny set. I hope you enjoyed it. I got to tell you, there's always a little memory in there for me because that bit about Aquanet is just so funny. And my mom in the 50s and 60s used the heck out of Aquanet hairspray. It was ubiquitous in every bathroom, I think, at that time. So let's get on with our next story. So this comes from back in the late 80s. And back then I was doing regular open mic nights. This gave an opportunity for me to find new talent and a chance for young talent in Sacramento area to appear on stage. Nobody got paid, but they all got a few minutes of stage time, and after I would meet with them and kind of critique their sets and let them know honestly what they needed to do to improve, or maybe this just wasn't their cup of tea. Well, there was one particular guy that was a little strange, a little squirrely, and definitely not funny on stage. And I was very sincere with him and told him that I didn't think stand-up comedy was going to work for him, certainly not with the direction he was taking his material. Didn't think anything of it. He was one of maybe 20 acts one night. Well, a couple weeks later, I got a 6-page handwritten letter that was just beyond bizarre. It started off saying how much he loved me, the club, got so much experience, appreciated my time and critique, and was just overwhelmed with everything to do with the comedy world. Then about halfway through, it took a strange turn, and he started telling me how I had ruined his life and that he would never be the same, and basically made a death threat that because I had ruined his life, he was going to come after me, make me regret it, and threaten to kill me. Then by about the 6th page, it reversed back around 180 degrees to how much he appreciated my time and how wonderful I was and how wonderful the club was and that he loved me. So this is a pretty strange 6-page handwritten letter that I had received from this really, unique and strange guy. But such is the time in interacting with a lot of opening acts and open mic talent. It was, I just set it aside. I wasn't too concerned. Now, fast forward about 6 months, and I get this phone call personally to me from Sinbad. Yeah, that guy, the movie actor and the stand-up comic, Sinbad, calls me at the club, introduces himself, and tells me that he was working in a small room in Southern California and that this open micer ahead of him had performed and that they were on the same stage. Obviously, the open mic was before, and then Sinbad was part of the regular show later in the evening. And this guy had sent him a 4-page handwritten letter telling him how amazing he was and how he loved his movies, and then went on to threaten his life, saying that if he didn't help him get into comedy, and that, didn't show him respect, that he would kill him. Well, Sinbad wasn't really had any experience with this guy as I had, and wanted my sincere opinion on whether he should be nervous or scared, if he needed to hire security, or if this guy's threats should be taken seriously. And I kind of laughed and told him about my 6-page letter, and that I had met the guy a few times, and I thought he was harmless, a little crazy, but not to be too concerned. So that's how the phone call went. We kind of said our pleasantries to each other, and that was the end of the phone call. That was a special and kind of odd moment in interaction with a very famous comic/movie star, Sinbad. What is interesting was a couple years later, I ran into Sinbad in the green room at Tommy T's in Rancho Cordova, California, and we saw his show, and then we went backstage. So I went back to the green room and introduced myself to Sinbad, and at that moment, he realized who I was, and we immediately went into remembering the story about the strange 4- and 6-page handwritten letters and how weird and strange that was to go through that experience together. We had a nice half hour or so of conversation together, and then we went our separate ways, and I haven't seen Sinbad since. But it is a little touch of fame in the comedy business, and kind of a unique one, I might say. So to celebrate 40-plus years in stand-up comedy, I have a great set here from Jay Leno, live on my stage. I do want to add that he did work my club, The Small Room, several times back in the early 80s, and then once he got fame and fortune, I brought him back and we did big 12,000-seat theater-type concerts here in Sacramento, and I was a producer and he was a headliner. The opening acts for him in those days were people like Dana Carvey and Yakov Smirnoff, who had not quite become household names. Anyway, Jay and I worked together for several years, and I think you'll enjoy this set. Take it away, Jay Leno.
Enjoy. Let's have a big round of applause. Our star tonight, Mr. Jay Leno.
Thank you, Scott. Hey, who says you have to pay more than $29 for a suit and 2 pairs of pants, huh? Boy. Who says they don't have a nice selection down there, that Sears Husky, huh, boy? Did you all join my friend Kevin Rooney? Now, he's going to be up at the, what was the name of that club? Yank. Hey, could we get the name? It's like listening to one of those Russian guys all the time, didn't it? I think he mentioned that. Well, good to see everybody. Welcome to the show. Some people coming in fashionably late there. Welcome. I like this room. This kind of looks like the rec room of the USS Enterprise, doesn't it? Kind of, expect Spock to be playing 3-dimensional checkers in here somewhere. Oh, well, let's see what's been on the news. Well, Reagan was on the news 2 nights ago. He says he wants the Army to go to war on drugs. Well, where the hell was he when we were in Vietnam? We went to war on drugs once already. Jesus. And why don't we try going to war without drugs once in a while? Maybe we'll win one of these stupid things. Of course, George Bush, he's got the classic supply-side economics approach to this thing. He says in 6 months, they want to cut the drug supply in this country in half. See, that's classic Republican thinking. They figure by cutting the supply in half, the price will rise to the point where dealers and junkies are going to go, that's it, we're not paying that kind of money. I'm sorry. Nancy Reagan was out here recently, about 3 weeks ago? She was on the Joan Rivers show, and she was also at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where she was given the Humanitarian of the Year award. Yeah, I'm glad she beat out that conniving little bitch, Mother Teresa, huh? Boy, it's good to see the right people win once in a while, isn't it? Sure it is. I guess she won for the work she's done on her anti-drug program. And I'll tell you something, I don't use drugs, I don't believe in drugs, I don't condone drugs. Yet, when I see Nancy Reagan talk against drugs, I want to shoot up and die in the street. I don't know, there's something annoying about the woman there. They had a segment on the news the other night about Walter Reed Hospital. These people that are always ready and waiting to operate on the president whenever the president is ill. Now, here's something. Whether Republican or Democrat, I think we all want the president to feel good, but sometimes in this country, when the president is ill, The news media tells us a lot more about the illness than I think most people really care to know, you know? Like whenever Reagan gets that intestinal thing, just tell me he's gonna be okay. I don't need Dan Rather every night with that Procto camera. We can see the polyp now! We can see the polyp now! Morton Dean is screaming in the background. They found blood in the stool, Dan! They found blood in the stool. Hello, it is 6 o'clock. Someone's trying to have dinner here in America.
Well, Jay's always been a great, clean stand-up comedy, very funny and very topical, and always able to interact with his audiences. I hope you enjoyed that set. Well, that completes this week's episode of Your Host and MC. I want to thank you for listening. We are still in the early stages of this podcast, so be sure to listen to all the various shows, share them with friends, and if you get a chance, rate and review them. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you had a good time. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stand-Up Comedy, Your Host and MC. For information on the show, merchandise, and our sponsors, or to send comments to Scott, visit our website at www.standupyourhostandmc.com. Look for more episodes soon and enjoy the world of stand-up comedy. Visit a comedy showroom near you.